In today's video, we're taking a look at some trade options for the Montreal Canadiens as the deadline approaches for the Jesperi Kotkaniemi offer sheet. Will they be looking at players like Tomas Hertl or Jack Eichel? We also have some news on the Ottawa Senators. They're still trying to trade one of their young prospects and possibly add another right winger. And we have some more signings as well. All that coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of news and rumors to talk about here tonight. Before we jump into the rumor section of today's video, I do have a few signings to talk about. First up, it looks as though former NHL player now, Jayce Hawryluk, who was a former first-round pick, played most recently with the Vancouver Canucks, was briefly with Ottawa before that, has opted to leave and sign in Sweden. I'm not really sure he had any NHL options available at the moment, or at the very least, if he did, it would have been a two-way deal. Like I said, a former first-round pick, hasn't really materialized to an NHL full-time regular player at least, and he's heading over to Sweden. We also saw a signing earlier with the Detroit Red Wings, signing RFA defenseman Filip Hronek to a 3-year contract valued at $4.4 million average annual value. Of course, he just completed his entry-level deal, so he was a first-time RFA. He was a second-round pick back in 2016, 23 years old. Right-shot defenseman from the Czech Republic has turned out to be one of their better blue liners, to be a big part of the future of this team. Put up 26 points in 56 games last year. To me, this is a pretty reasonable, very fair contract. Again, Steve Yzerman, another good piece of business there for he and the Detroit Red Wings. And we also had announcements today from the Pittsburgh Penguins that they've signed a couple of veteran players on a professional tryout agreement. So former NHLers Brian Boyle and Mark Bartkowski, both have not been in the league for some time, are both going to Penguins camp on tryouts to try to earn themselves a contract. Of course, Brian Boyle can play center. He's got good size, good on the PK, good on faceoffs. Hard to say exactly where his game is at, where he did not play this past season. Of course, Brian Boyle's had his fair share of health issues in recent years, but most recently has appeared to be healthy and looking for an opportunity here for quite some time. So we'll see if things pan out. He has played a lot, of course, within other teams in the Metro Division. So certainly a familiar territory for him, and possibly landing with the Penguins. And we'll see what happens here with Bartkowski as an extra defenseman. I would imagine if he is offered a deal, it probably would be a two-way contract at best. But still, a couple of PTOs, like I said before, we're probably going to get a few more of these as we head into a little bit closer to training camp. There's still a lot of guys out there that have not yet signed that are looking for work. Like, for example, I also heard a quick rumor update on Tyler Bozak in St. Louis. This comes from Andy Strickland, who covers the Blues for Bally Sports and has a podcast as well with Cam Jansen, former player of the Cam and Strick podcast. He indicated with Tyler Bozak was an interview on Sirius XM Radio. I heard him talking that there was a deal on the table from the Blues for Bozak to return on a 1-year deal for $1.5 million, and he did not take it. He was a little reluctant to sign it, took his time, and then the Blues went and done other business while they were waiting for a decision. So now that offer is not necessarily there. He does not feel the door is completely closed on Bozak returning to the Blues organization, but at this point, if they make him a new offer to bring him back, it very well might end up being even less money because their cap situation has gotten a lot tighter with the other subsequent moves that we've seen ahead of time. So, they also have to sign Robert Thomas, who's still a pending restricted free agent as well. Bozak just completed a pretty, I wouldn't call it hefty, but it was a sizable free agent contract he signed with the St. Louis Blues on a 3-year deal after leaving from the Toronto Maple Leafs. So to me, extending for one more year at 1.5 to be a bottom 6 center who can be a bit more of a role player like he does in the last year or two, to me, would have been a good deal. I'm surprised he didn't take it, but we've seen that before in recent years. You get a veteran guy, wants a little bit more term, a little bit more money, starts getting a little bit picky, and then sometimes they don't get anything, and they might even have to take even less or go on a tryout or something like that. So we'll see. He could still return to the Blues. According to Bozak's agent, from what he's told Strickland, there are some other options on the table, but they're kind of weighing things out, trying to decide what to do. So another veteran guy that we'll have to keep an eye on here as we get a little bit closer to the training camps opening up. Now, before we jump into the rumor section of today's video, I do want to pause for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. Of course, with Manscaped, we have a special offer here for all Top Shelf Hockey viewers where you can get 20% off and free shipping on all orders at manscaped.com. Now, of course, Manscaped just launched a brand new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is a fantastic product. They've taken the level up here, even again with the skin-safe replaceable blades. It's waterproof, it's wireless charging, has a travel lock on it, as well as a nice light so you don't miss what you're doing. So certainly a terrific product. Now, many people associate Manscaped with their trimmers, which is certainly kind of their top product, but they do have a lot of other great options as well, including what they call the Weed Whacker, which is another trimmer for your ears and nose. And they have a variety of deodorants and sprays as well, which also keep you fresh and are terrific as well. So certainly Manscaped has a lot to offer, and we certainly highly recommend all of their products. So check out manscaped.com and use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. So thanks very much for watching that promotional content. I do greatly appreciate it. Quick reminder as well that there is a merchandise sale going on right now. I'll give you the graphic on the screen so you can see the promo code. It's a 10% wide sale on everything offered through my store and actually through the entire company. It's a sale put on by Spring, the merchandise company themselves, site-wide. So the promo code is Sunset, as you see in the graphic. So 10% off on all Top Shelf Hockey merchandise. Now into the rumor section of today's video. This next part is about the San Jose Sharks. It's not completely rumor, but part of it is rumor, part of it is fact. We saw earlier tonight that it was announced from the Sharks that assistant coach Rocky Thompson was stepping down from his role as an assistant coach, partly due to the fact, at least what they say, is that due to a medical exemption, he is unable to take the COVID-19 vaccine for, of course, we don't know the exact reasoning, but for whatever reason, he can't take the vaccine. With all protocols in place, feels he would not be able to fulfill his duties, so he's stepping down. Now, you would think that that would be stepping down for the current season, but everything indicates that he's basically parting ways here with the Sharks. This is not a temporary measure, and that somebody new to replace him will be announced in the very near future, is what the information was indicated from the San Jose Sharks. But Sharks beat writer Kevin Kurz for The Athletic doesn't really confirm anything else, but kind of wonders if there might be a little bit more to this. Of course, as we've talked about off and on here throughout the offseason with all the Evander Kane drama, I know we've talked a lot about his personal side and the allegations of betting and gambling and all that kind of stuff, but one of the other things that was more documented early on and is a little bit more confirmed was that his teammates were very frustrated with him all year, and that several had spoken out to management about wanting him gone, or they wanted to be gone if he wasn't. And one thing as well is that he almost came to blows earlier in the season after having a lot of frustrations between he and assistant coach Rocky Thompson, who was responsible for running the power play. There was a lot of people that had indicated that Kane really just wasn't listening, wasn't taking direction, and wasn't, was really butting heads hardcore with the coach, and that it's come close to things really boiling over there, and that maybe this is a sign of him saying, if Kane's going to be there, then I'm done. That's what the speculation is. Now, this could be strictly related to the fact that can't take the vaccine, therefore, with all the protocols, makes it really hard to do my job, so I'm stepping down. Maybe that's the complete truth, but Kurz wonders if there could be more to it, and to be completely honest, I would not be completely surprised given everything we've heard about how the rest of the organization and the teammates and everybody kind of feels about him. So, to me, potentially, if there is any truth to that, it's another bad look for management in San Jose, kind of choosing Kane. I understand Kane's been a good player, but with everything hanging over him right now, it kind of makes it hard for if the rest of the team doesn't want to be around him. So we'll have to see if we ever get more information on that or not. But at the end of the day here, Rocky Thompson's not with the Sharks, and that's the only part of this conversation on them that we can confirm 100%. Now, when it comes to the Ottawa Senators, of course, we saw a big announcement earlier today coming to terms on a long-term deal with Drake Batherson. Signs a 6-year contract. Of course, now their attention really turns to Brady Tkachuk, which I'm sure it was already focused on substantially, but it's even more so now. Now that they got Batherson out of the way, he's one of the big ones left over. The biggest one that's likely going to be the team's, or at least the highest paid forward for sure, possibly the highest paid player, period, depending on what term they agree on. Now, there was some word from Sean Simpson of TSN 1200 in Ottawa, indicating that he had sources saying that Brady was a little bit frustrated or starting to feel frustrated with the situation. Of course, I've seen numerous media outlets jump all over the frustrated word and really kind of emphasize that he's really upset with management. He's really frustrated. And to be honest, I really don't think there's anything to that for a couple of things. For one, he only indicated that frustration is just starting to set in a little bit. Secondly, we shouldn't be surprised that this deal is not done. Look at the Batherson deal just got done. Look at all the other high-profile players around the league that are not done. He's not the only one here. And, of course, the Tkachuk family as a whole have a reputation for, making sure they kind of drive a hard bargain. But you know what? They're very talented people. His dad was, his brother is, he is, and they want to get what they want, what they deserve. And I don't blame them, 100%. So, these negotiations are going to be a little bit contentious, and they're going to take a while. So I really don't think there's anything to be concerned about in the land of Senators fans myself. Now, the other thing I want to mention is I do like Sean Simpson, and I do listen to that radio station a bit at times. But to be honest, he's been flat out wrong with other information that he suggested about other Senators news recently. So I'm not really completely sure you can take everything he says as very much reliable. For example, he was talking about their 21 first-round pick Tyler Boucher, who was committed to going to BU to play, and he was going on Twitter about that he had sources indicating that there was a good chance he may come to play the Ottawa 67s in the OHL because they have his junior rights, and it'd be nice that the team would prefer that, considering how close to them he would be. And, of course, Coach Dave Cameron, who was former Senators head coach, is now the 67s head coach, and it just could, work really well for his development and all that, and kind of making these suggestions that it was the 67s really wanted him, and it was great. And it turns out, according to Brent Wallace, who I would trust as a much more plugged-in, connected person to them, and recently interviewed Tyler's dad, Brian, who, of course, works as an analyst himself in the U.S., indicated that that was completely untrue. The 67s never really pushed the fact, never really reached out, had conversations. And actually, as he was going on Twitter about all this stuff, Tyler was actually moving into his dorm at BU and had no intention of leaving. So, again, I just don't think Senators fans should be upset by this at all. And I'm just not sure that Sean Simpson's the most reliable guy because I don't really have anything bad to say about him. I mean, I'm sure that he was given his information and that he's not making anything up or anything like that. But at the same time, like I said, I'm just not sure his sources are more reliable than guys like Brent Wallace or Bruce Garriock, who are certainly more plugged in and better connected to the team. Now, the other thing that Bruce Garriock mentions in his recent article about the Sens is that they are still trying to trade Logan Brown, former first-round pick back from 2016, who's never really materialized into a full-time NHLer, battled a ton of injuries, and just has not. It doesn't appear to be happy either. It's a case of, I think, both parties need to move on and get a fresh start. He was given a qualifying offer, so he's still a member of the organization. They protected him in expansion with the hopes of getting an asset in return to trade him, and none of that has materialized here as of yet. I am very surprised that Logan Brown has not signed his qualifying offer and just accepted that as his contract, given the fact that he has absolutely no leverage considering he hasn't really done anything. The fact he even got a qualifying offer is a good start. So, to be honest, if I were him, I would just sign it and, you know what, maybe continue to talk to them about a trade if you really want to get a fresh start somewhere else. But they're still working on that, and they're also considering adding a right winger, but apparently they are also open to the idea of going into training camp without doing that and giving guys like Igor Sokolov, who was a really big revelation in the AHL last year. Another guy like Batherson, who was a bit of a late bloomer. Actually, he and Batherson are great friends and teammates from junior and got to know each other quite well living in Cape Breton. So, they're very much similar paths, similar stories, and it could be a great, opportunity for him to get some more NHL time next year. They also have some guys that they brought in, like a Pontus Aberg, who has enough NHL experience, who can also kind of fill in and, be an option there as well. We'll see how things go in camp. they can always look to make a move later on if those options just don't appear ready or quite working out to find somebody else on a short-term basis. So we could see a move or two besides a Tkachuk signing from Ottawa, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see anything too significant here before camp gets underway. Now, as I mentioned as well, we also want to look at the Montreal Canadiens. Now, we're less than 24 hours away as I record this to getting the decision 2021 on Kotkaniemi's offer sheet for the Hurricanes. Are they going to match or will they let him walk? And according to recent polls that I've seen, that I've conducted myself, I had a poll here on YouTube, I had a poll on Twitter, a lot of responses, and I think it was like 85 to 89%, depending on which one you look at, feel that Montreal should let him walk. I know a lot of media I listen to seems to think that's what it's going to be. I would think, in a way, if they were going to match, they would have just come out and said it by now. But I think they're working on trades and behind the scenes to try to figure out how to replace this guy. Now, some believe they should let him walk, just keep the compensation, because it's a deep draft coming up. They're getting another first-round pick. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think after going to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, they feel, one, the pressure, and secondly, they believe in themselves that they can get back there, but they need some more depth at center to make sure that that's a more likelihood to take place. Now, according to different reports and out there, that obviously guys like Eichel and Hertl we know are well documented as being involved in potential trade talk. We know Eichel for sure. Hertl, there's some speculation that he could be moved. And it's a lot of reports that they're saying they should go for either one. Like I saw a potential situation with Tomas Hertl seems to be popping up in Montreal Canadiens trade talk in a variety of articles and news reports across the web today. He could be a guy they look to. I still think Christian Dvorak is their main target. I know Eric Engels of Sportsnet, who's very well connected, seems to think that Dvorak's the main target, and that to me does make even more sense than Hertl. I can understand why they would at least check in and maybe consider how that goes, but Dvorak comes with more term, more cost certainty, and if he is going to potentially be more of a number 2 guy to start, but could drop to number 3 over time, maybe that's somebody you kind of prefer not to be making too much money, right? So it kind of makes sense that he might be more of a target. But a lot of people seem to think, though, if you talk to the Buffalo Sabres about Jack Eichel and you throw in the first and third round pick they'll get from the Kotkaniemi offer sheet compensation, as well as their own first round pick, for the Sabres to get 2 first rounders in next year's very deep NHL draft could be rather enticing. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of players there. They already have 2 first round picks. Next year they have their own, and they picked one up from the Sam Reinhart trade with the Florida Panthers. Now, of course, that pick does have a top 10 protection on it, but that's only going to be a possibility if the Panthers miss the playoffs and end up in the lottery, which I don't think is going to happen. I expect the Panthers to be one of the stronger teams in the league next year. So realistically, can you imagine if Buffalo had 4 first-round picks next year? And of course, like I said, for them to take Eichel, you have to have some decent salary going out as well. Montreal also has a ton of other prospects that they could consider, adding 1 or 2 in, depending on what it's going to take to get the deal done. But obviously, like I said, the big thing, though, is they have to take some money. So that's the big question, is who would go out? I mean, at this point, you look at the Montreal Canadiens, they're already over the cap and into long-term injury reserve, but we know Shea Weber is not going to be playing this year, so he's got $7.8 million on LTIR. Paul Byron is going to be on LTIR for the first probably 3 to 4 months of the year, so there's another 3.4. So that totals $11.25 million on long-term injury reserve that they can exceed the cap. So they can go upwards, like $293 million. So they do technically have room. They wouldn't have to have a ton of money come off in a trade immediately, but at least one decent-sized NHL contract would have to go to the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, if you take a look at their lineup here, I would assume they would probably prefer to subtract from the forward group than the D group, considering they're already losing Weber. Hard to say who that could be. Could they maybe consider Jonathan Drouin? I know Drouin has been talking about it. He's ready to come back. He said he's even ready to play center if they need him to play center. I mean, he could be another fallback option. Maybe they give him another shot. Hard to say. But if you look at else in the forward group that's making a decent amount of money, I don't really see them wanting to move the newly signed Mike Hoffman or Josh Anderson or Tyler Toffoli. So it's tricky to say how they would make things work from a money perspective. But I do think they definitely have more than enough interesting pieces to get the Sabres ears listening to what they have to offer. To have 4 first-round picks and an incredibly deep draft next year, along with an extra third and another piece or two, that sounds awfully intriguing. So let me know what you think Montreal is going to do. We will find out soon enough. I've seen numerous reports all over the internet today saying Montreal should go after Eichel, they should go after Dufour, they should go after Tomas Hertl. What is their best option here? Does Kotkaniemi walk? We'll find out soon enough, but let's talk about this one last time before we get the final news and decision from Montreal. That's your update for tonight. Let me know your thoughts down below and everything discussed in the comment section. We can discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We will keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.